Theme going, who will meet their Waterloo, Stephen Hendry or Jimmy White? Good evening. What a draw this year for the Embassy World Championship. Jimmy White has to qualify for the very first time, so he goes into the hat to draw a seed. And who did he get? The world #1, Stephen Hendry, who he's lost to here in 4 epic finals for his first round match. It's coming up. First of all, results so far today. Ronnie O'Sullivan has come through. He's beaten Joe Swale by that score of 10 frames to 4, and he now plays Alan McManus. Another result, and Darren Morgan has beaten Jason Prince 10 frames to 8, and he'll play the winner of the match starting out here tonight, Stephen Hendry or Jimmy White. And a later score, Elaine Robidoux has come back after a terrible start to be just a frame adrift. It finishes tomorrow 4-5 against the 20-year-old Welshman, Matthew Stevens. But right now, Stephen Hendry and Jimmy White, and the world will queue up to tell you what they think about Jimmy.
He's absolutely fantastic.
He's just a star, really. He just attracts a crowd.
Well, he's just so flamboyant and so exciting to watch.
I think he's the best player there's ever been.
Exciting to watch him, the way he plays, pots, safety, everything.
I want him to win, except for tonight, because he's playing my son.
Yes, there's only one player they can be talking about.
Jimmy, Jimmy. Jimmy, Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy, Jimmy. Poor little Jimmy wouldn't let go. He'd stay awake at night, lying in his bed. No one ever listened to a single word he said.
Jimmy White still the people's champion, but the pressure to entertain has been a problem.
I think in the past I have lost matches by playing flare shots when I should have just birdied the sort of ball and, won the frame. But now I just play, basically to win for myself, and obviously if I win, the fans are pleased.
There's not been much to cheer about over the last 2 years. Jimmy's results meant he had to qualify for Sheffield for the first time this year, but he knows the score.
I played bad that year. I wasn't entitled to, there's lots of kids out there who go to Blackpool for 3 or 4 months, and, they're trying to get in this situation where I was, and I had such a bad year, exactly what I deserved.
Well, poor results or not, Jimmy remains one of the busiest and biggest ticket sellers on the exhibition circuit, and it's a part of his life that he enjoys.
You earn money doing them, but it's nice to go and play live to the public. You meet your fans, and it's a bit of practice. That's 3 things, really, but I do enjoy them.
And on nights like this, Jimmy will often play a local amateur. Nowadays, he's having to get used to meeting these players years later in the professional ranks.
It's a bit weird sometimes when you've played kids in exhibitions, and all of a sudden, like 12 years later, he's up professional playing you. But, I sort of get on with most people. I don't talk no rubbish to them. I tell them to enjoy it. And, at the end of the day, playing all the matches, but, must get enjoyment out of it. You mustn't get, stressed with it, because it's a big downward starer.
And despite all he's been through, in and out of the crucible, Jimmy is still Jimmy.
What do you think of my cue case? The biz. I feel fantastic, and I have to beat Stephen Hendry, and if I do beat him, which I think I can, I've got as much chance of winning it as anybody else.
Well, he's now 35 years old. It's the 18th time he's come here. He's reached 6 finals. He's never won it. And in the last 2 years, he's won only 1 match. Stephen Hendry is 29, his 13th time here. What you read into that? 7 finals, 6 titles. Last year, the only time he's lost at a final, he lost to Ken Doherty. 4 wins over Jimmy White in finals, but by his standards, one of his worst seasons ever. And over the years, they've met, in fact, that number of times, with 22 wins to Hendry, just 9 to Jimmy White. But Jimmy's last win, a semi-final of the '91 UK Championship. Since then, he's lost 15 in a row to Hendry. And now here at the Crucible, match number 32. Yeah, tremendous atmosphere. It's really caught the imagination of everybody in snooker. We'll join the first frame just underway. It's Stephen Hendry. Nothing scored yet. Your commentators Dennis Taylor and Ray Edmonds, and in charge is Len Ganley. Stephen Hendry, world number 1.
One. Six. Seven.
Perfect angle to just drop on the red above the black for the left corner.
Well, that's not as he intended. Much too close to the side cushion. Now, if the one at the back goes, that would help Stephen, but that's not the one he played for. And that was never going to be easy. Now, I wonder if that one at the back pots now from the position the cue ball is finished. Could be close. Might just be able to play that with a little bit of side. Yeah.
One. Eight. Nine.
Looks as if he's going to have to play a cannon onto the red that's at the back of the bunch there. There's the middle of the red there, just as you look at it. That'll do nicely.
$16. $17. $24. 25.
And Jimmy playing at a nice, sensible pace. Slightly slow by his standards, but still plenty quick enough. And the perfect angle on the black here to get behind the next red.
$32. $33.
Now he's going to have to be a little more careful this time. Reds are rather in one another's way there, as you see. So he's going to have to get into the middle of them some way. And he's got a bit of an angle to do so. I think he's okay.
14. 41. 48.
Well, that's much too close to the reds. Didn't intend to be there with the cue ball. Still got one into the right centre. And psychologically, this will be an early boost for Jimmy White, because it was Stephen Hendry who had the first opportunity and he just fluffed the positional side of it slightly. And looking at the position of the reds, there's no reason why Jimmy shouldn't clinch the frame with one visit.
56.
And that will do him and his supporters the world of good.
57.
Got a little bit of an awkward one here, though. It's a straightforward pot on the pink, but it's going to be awkward cueing.
$63. $64.
So a 54-point lead now.
66.
Red and the blue, or rather any red, will be enough.
67.
And this is as cool and calculated a start as one has seen from Jimmy White for quite some time.
71.
And certainly he's posting his marker
72.
down here. He's in good form.
Yes, he's been putting a bit of practice in with Mark King, who's through to the next round. Two practice
79.
tables here at the Crucible Theatre, and some players like to practice on their own, but occasionally they prefer to practice with another professional.
$85. 86.
Well, Jimmy White, he's here for a battle. What a start.
92. $94. $97.
There'll be a bit of a cheer after this one.
101.
That's his 183rd
106.
century break in professional competition, and what a time to get it.
And the
Well, the crowd would love to have seen a clearance, but nevertheless, what a start for Jimmy White as he takes the opening frame of this, what promises to be a titanic battle.
Titanic. It's only frame one. Will they run out of superlatives? I don't think they will, because here's the second, and Stephen Hendry is back at the table after an opening break of 67.
Well, here's a chance. Certainly to get right back into the frame.
One.
Just a little bit too far.
Seven. Eight.
Now, those two reds that are over the left side of the table may not be as safe as they look, because Jimmy's left-handed, so they're the right side of the table for him. But he's got a few more pots to pull out before he has to concentrate on those.
16. $23. $24.
Well, he's just a little bit short. He wanted a few more inches. Jimmy's plan there was to try and leave an angle to pot the black and move the red that's closest to the cushion, but he can't do that now.
$31.
Just the wrong side of straight, and Jimmy not taking the pot on.
Jimmy White, 31.
I think it was the right choice of shot. Could have done with the cue ball just behind the black, but he's well in the frame, as you see there.
Oh, that's not too bad. That was a nice nudge onto the other red. He's covered one with the pink, and the other one doesn't go past the green. And all the balls are out in the open now, so although he's 36 behind Jimmy, it's anyone's frame here. That was a kick, a bad contact.
Yes, just going to say.
Just imagine if Jimmy White was somehow to win this second frame after Stephen Hendry making a 67 break. Wow. It's a possibility.
Well, certainly the standard extremely high so far. That's trouble, but as you can see, not too difficult to swerve round. He just won't be sure where the red's going to finish. But he'll settle for that, I think. Although the red will cut to the middle. Not an easy shot, and certainly the one down the cushion you wouldn't imagine Jimmy would risk.
Yes, he might risk the one on the cushion if the black was on its spot, but the fact that the black's further away, he's got quite a bit to do with the cue ball, but he's having a go. It's there.
One.
And a shot.
Eight. Nine.
Any colour will do. So Jimmy White certainly couldn't
12.
ask for a better chance, but a very courageous
14.
opening red, which he made to look very easy to give himself this chance.
17.
What a couple of opening frames to this match. Quite incredible stuff so early on.
21.
Well, he thought the frame was over when he had that 67 break.
He won't be able to drop this in to get on the pink, so he's going to have to stun off the cushion.
26.
Superb control. Well, there was a great cheer for the opening century, but winning that one produced a bigger one. So Stephen Hendry, phlegmatic as ever, is 2-0 down.
And then it went 3-0, and look at this, 4-0. That fourth frame, 103 points to 23. And in frame 5, Jimmy White's been at it again. Stephen Hendry's at the table. Jimmy's already at a break of 30. Hendry so far only one red.
One.
No.
1.
That was the first sort of chance that Stevens had since the second frame, when he made that 67 break, and Jimmy went on to pinch the second frame off him, and that's played quite a big part in the first session.
One. Seven. 8.
With a 36-point lead and straight on the pink, a line of 4 reds all waiting to be potted, and an avid supporter and big good friend of Stephen Hendry, Prince Nazim.
14.
But Stephen, at the moment, not looking like a champion, but to a great extent that is because of the way Jimmy is monopolising the table.
$20. $27. 28. $34. $35.
So already this frame is going again to Jimmy White.
Yes, Ray, I just think this is an incredible performance. I don't know what odds you would get against Jimmy White winning the first 5 frames here this evening, but what a performance he's put up so far. Look at this.
41.
I think they're all surprised as well, and a lot of them delighted, but Stephen Hendry's got a lot of support as well.
It doesn't matter. Jimmy White marches on majestically. Stephen Hendry under the cosh. 5 frames to 0 for Jimmy White.
Everybody in the arena beginning to shake their heads, but the match goes on, and we take you into frame 6. Jimmy has been at it again, an opening break of 15. Here's Hendry.
Well, I suppose he'll settle for that. Well, having said that, is there a plant on? Is there 2 reds that could be possibly on? Two of them behind. No, it doesn't look as if they are. There's two sets of reds that are close together. That one is available, but he's looking at the possibility of the plant. Well, it was close. It's there.
Played with precision to hold for the pink.
Seven. Eight. $14.
Now the black's only available into one corner pocket, so he can't play for it. So he'll have to go back for the pink.
15.
No, I think he got a bad contact, and that's left the cue ball a long way short. Wanted to be the other side of the pink. Let's just see if we can. Couldn't quite detect, but you can tell by the sound whether it's a bad contact or not.
$21.
Similar situation. He may have to come back for the pink again. I don't think he's got the right angle to run through and leave the black on for the left corner. Might be able to do. Just depends on the angle he has on this red. He might be able to.
22.
Yes, and if he can get on the red that's next to the black after he pots it, that will open the black up into both corner pockets. And he's got the perfect angle there.
$29. 30.
And I bet Stephen Hendry can't believe what's happening here this evening to him.
37.
But
38.
what a session Jimmy White is having here.
$45. 46.
Just the black. That means another frame has got away from Stephen Hendry. And over the past 17 or 18 years, Steve Davis has made this arena his own. And this gentleman in the 90s. But to be fair to both of them, neither have got the legion of fans that this man has. He's been trying to win this Embassy World Championship
61.
for so many years.
62.
6 finals, and playing like this, well, as Dennis said a few moments ago, if he sustains it, he'll take some stopping. But I think Stephen still might have something to say about it.
69.
stays in the chair. Jimmy White extends his lead. 6-0. Remarkable.
And just remember, it's first to 10. Frame 7, a 29-point start for Jimmy White. It's moved on to Stephen Hendry here, 13, White 38. Hendry to play.
Pretty well an error every shot from Stephen at the moment. Looks a little down, understandably perhaps.
1. Seven. Eight. Pink ball. Eight. Jimmy White.
Oh, Jimmy putting the pink out of commission. Getting the snooker. 33 points in front. Turning the screw.
One. Three.
So not quite to the standard
Three.
of the snooker
Jimmy
so
White.
far, but Jimmy White may have done enough to win another one. Just one snooker required, but this shouldn't be a problem.
Knocked the green into a more favourable position.
One.
He's got to pot the black. This must go in. Just one snooker required, and he moved the green at his previous visit to the table. He can maybe screw in behind the brown this time.
Stephen Hendry. 8.
Not quite.
Stephen looked a little bit dejected for a few shots, but he's thinking straight with that one. But he can't get Jimmy under pressure. He brought the pink into play, which would be to his advantage if he gets that snooker. But this might cut.
The balls are very nicely situated now for snookers. He's got a choice here. He could come back round the table and try and get in behind the black, applying left hand side to the cue ball. Much too thin a contact.
Jimmy played it well, but a little second kiss really was a bonus, and at least 2 cushions. If he comes at pace, he could miss it, get somewhere near the black. That's a 7-point penalty.
Ball stroke, 7 on the frame.
And therefore Stephen concedes. And this remarkable story carries on. It could never have been predicted. Jimmy White, 7-0 in front.
Well, we've talked at length about the 4 epic finals Jimmy White has lost to Hendry. Shouldn't forget he's beaten Hendry here at the Crucible. 88, round 2, 13-12. And now it's 7-0, frame 8, and he's already got a red down.
One.
Well, every half chance being taken by Jimmy White.
One, Jimmy White.
Well, eventually he had to miss one that you wouldn't expect. We've got to frame 8 virtually before it's happened. And that's a remarkable record in itself.
One.
He's got a choice of 3 reds, but he'd like to get to the one that's closest to the black, leave it into the right corner. This will clear the path for the black into both corner pockets when he pots this
6.
one.
Seven.
And he hasn't really had a chance in the balls since the second frame when he made a break of 67 and lost it.
$14. 15. $22. 23. 30. 31.
A little bit dodgy, that one, just caught the knuckle. But if Stephen Hendry could come back
38.
and win this match from this position, he would be creating Crucible history. Nobody, as far as we know, has ever come back from 7-0 down in the first round and won.
39.
Yes, that's absolutely right, Ray. But if you remember the year 1992, looked like Jimmy White was going to win his
46.
first Embassy World title. He was leading Stephen Hendry 14 frames
47.
to 8, and this man at the table won 10 frames in a row to win 18-14. I don't think
54.
Jimmy will be thinking about 1992. He's firmly focused on this match.
55.
And that's a mistake. This is a very thin cut now on the black. He's just going to nestle in behind it. He's a 53-point lead.
Stephen Hendry, 55.
There's still enough points there for Jimmy. But he's going to do well to get out of this. He's going to try and clip off the red and get down the table.
Next time the rest. Oh, sorry. One.
Certainly over the years, Stephen Hendry has created a tremendous number of records in the game of snooker.
9.
But a comeback from this would really be something special. But
16.
funnier things have happened.
17.
Certainly, he stopped the rot. He's won this frame comfortably.
$24.
It has to be said, he seemed to get a little bit downhearted with the run of the balls for a couple of frames, but he hasn't looked in particular bad form. It was just the brilliance of his opponent.
13.
All credit to Jimmy White to put this kind of pressure on Stephen.
31. $36. And the frame.
So a very relieved Stephen Hendry goes back to his seat. Generous applause from the crowd. He's opened his account, but he's still 7-1 down.
At last, it's promised so much, and it's still going on. The final frame of this session. Let's enjoy it. Frame 9. Jimmy White has opened with a break of 32. Hendry's back at the table, behind again. As it's happening now here in the Crucible on the 5th night of this remarkable pairing.
Stephen Hendry, 8.
So the drama goes on. Stephen has had the odd chance, but not all that many. He really has had to play a minor role tonight, while Jimmy White has played some quite brilliant snooker. He's potted some extremely difficult reds under pressure, but he's played perhaps as measured a game of snooker as I've seen him play for years, Dennis.
Blue ball. One.
Well,
Jimmy White.
an unexpected miss, but this has been the scrappiest of frames that we've played this evening. The reds got knocked up the other end of the table earlier in the frame, and that's the reason it's not a very high-scoring frame, but it's a very tense frame, certainly for Stephen Hendry. Wow, that is amazing to get into the little pocket from that angle. He was coming up the table to finish nicely on the black. And just have a look at this. Straight in the pocket. Stephen Hendry's plan there was to finish on the black, leave an angle, and then open the triangle of reds. And Jimmy's got to be a bit careful he doesn't push one of these reds over a corner pocket. So he wants to get a good cue ball here. He'd try and get down towards the blue. That's a little bit too thick a contact, and it's a chance. It's a chance that Stephen Hendry would normally knock in, but what pressure there is on him now.
Well, it was absolutely essential, I think, for Stephen to have any vague hope of winning this match, to win this frame. He was a long way out with that. On 19 points the lead.
One.
If he takes a pink, he's going to need both remaining reds to clinch the frame.
Seven.
A lot of small punters have their pound on Jimmy White for the World Championship. Odds of at least 50-1 available before this match. If he plays like this,
14.
in the second session, those odds will be slashed. That's the one he wanted. That's enough to ensure a remarkable 8-1 lead. Fantastic stuff, Dennis.
22.
Well, Stephen Hendry has looked so relaxed around the Crucible Theatre for the last couple of days, and so has Jimmy White.
24.
But even Jimmy, while this has got to be one of the best sessions of snooker he's ever played in his long, illustrious career.
27.
What a performance against the world number one. 8 frames to 1. Unbelievable.
31.
He's still got to win 2 more frames tomorrow. But nobody in this crowd tonight will believe that he won't do it. A wonderful, remarkable, all the superlatives can be applied to Jimmy White. Tonight it's the Crucible Theatre at the Embassy World Championship belongs to him. He goes overnight to tomorrow's session with an 8 frames to 1 lead.
We've seen some nights, we've seen some matches. It's only day 5, and we've seen one that ranks, I think, with the best, John Virgo.
Well, I think Jimmy White's finest hour here at the Crucible Theatre. I know he's been to finals, but he came here as a qualifier under an immense amount of pressure, and I think that's the best I've ever seen him play over 9 frames here. You know, just tremendous.
It was just frame after frame, and he always seemed to get the start, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I think the key to his performance was his safety play was excellent. He was finding the baulk cushion all the time. And then when he did get in, we didn't see any rash shots. He was taking a pace back, and every shot he built up and was prepared, so he didn't make any silly mistakes. And I feel a little bit sorry for Stephen, because that's the nature of snooker. If one man's at the table playing well, doesn't matter who you are, there's nothing you can do about it.
When the draw came out, I suppose Jimmy White had nothing to lose, really. If he'd lost to Hendry, they'd have said fine. But what about the reaction of Hendry to playing Jimmy White first rounder?
Well, I mean, it's like we keep saying, there's certain people you wouldn't want to play in the first round, and I'm certain all the 16 players who were seeded through to Sheffield didn't want Jimmy White.
Well, Stephen Hendry got him, and he goes in tonight 8 frames to 1 down. They play to a finish here tomorrow night. Just to remind you, if you didn't know, the man who wins 10 goes through into the next round tomorrow.
Among the biggest users of cash on the continent, preferably unmarked notes. So what effect will monetary union have on them?
If I were a drug trafficker...
Ladies and gentlemen, table number 2, the most popular player the game has ever produced, 6 times Embassy World finalist, the whirlwind of London town, that's Jimmy White. Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you now to welcome the greatest player in the game's history, the 6 times Embassy World Champion, the brilliant Stephen Hendry.
Well, referee Len Ganley may have a job controlling the crowd here. Jimmy White, 8. Stephen Hendry, 1.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
It's for the last place in the last 16, the last first-round match,
10
and the biggest. Hendry trying to settle himself with the noise.
Frame. Stephen Hendry to break.
Len Ganley gets it underway. Dennis Taylor and Clive Everton are your commentators.
What an atmosphere, like a prize fight. This full house scents blood, Hendry's blood. But this is a new session. A different day. And the two players could find themselves in different form. Last night, Hendry a little below par. Jimmy White playing his best sustained session for about 3 years. He'll be taking nothing for granted. Placing the one red to the other, hoping to leave neither potable.
The white's close. It's amazing. In fact, it's finished so close to the pocket that Jimmy snookered on the reds the right side of the table. He's angled on those. So that's a bit of a result. It looks as if he's going to have to come between green and brown off the side cushion to try and get to one of these near the top cushion, and he won't be guaranteed to get that safe. So he's having to swerve this a little bit. Look at that. There's one possible red on for Stephen. There you see it.
Well off the mark. A good start to the session, always desirable, but for Hendry tonight, absolutely essential. Hendry did recover arrears of 7-0 and 8-2 to beat Mike Hallett 9-8 in the Masters final at Wembley a few years ago. So if he can get into a streak, he might give White a few moments of anxiety at least.
There's no real value in Jimmy taking the red on to the right corner, no colour available.
Sorted out a shot to nothing, threading the cue ball back to ball in attempting that pot.
Well, I can't believe the atmosphere here this evening. I think if Jimmy White was playing any other player in the world and leading 8-1, it would be a formality, but the crowd, and I'm sure everyone at home, sense that Jimmy's still got to work very hard for his victory here. That's a nice cannon on the brown there. Could quite easily have ran through to the baulk cushion, but he's got the brown and a nice angle to get back up the table again.
Perhaps just a shade fortunate to drop on this red to the corner. I think he was playing for the one nearest the corner pocket.
6.
But now, this is a great chance to go 8 up with 9 to play. Red's well spread. All the colours available.
$11. $12.
White not making the mistake he made in the 1991 final of the Mercantile Classic in Bournemouth, a world ranking event. He led Hendry 9-0 at the interval. Turned up in the evening as if it was a formality. Lost the first 4 frames, and he said to me afterwards that he would never do that again. He would never take Hendry lightly, whatever his lead.
$17. $18.
It's okay. Pink into the left centre pocket. There was no value. And Jimmy playing for the black there, because had he potted the black it would have gone onto the pink spot and tied the pink and black up, so he's still thinking very clearly.
25. $30. $31.
Yeah, he can take the black this time, although the black spot's covered. There's still no problem. As I mentioned, the reason he didn't take it previously was there was just enough room for the black to go onto the pink spot. It goes in a direct line, directly behind its spot. There you can see, can't get in behind the cross there, which is
38.
Spot, so it's directly behind it there.
As near as possible to the nearest ball without actually touching it.
$39.
Rather reminiscent of last evening when Hendry sat out a break of 106 in the opening frame.
$45. $46.
that nice steady pace that he had last evening around the table. He's known as the whirlwind White, but not in this match.
$52.
He's just looking to see if the red next to the black pots, that's for a couple of shots away, because as you can see there's not that many reds available now, so he's thinking 3 shots ahead.
$53.
Just overran slightly.
59. Jimmy White, 59.
A highly focused start.
That's another excellent safety shot, and that was one of his strengths last evening. At present, Jimmy requires red colour red.
Excellent safety.
And Stephen Hendry showing his sportsmanship there. He tapped the table in appreciation of that excellent shot.
Good length again. Got to be careful not to clip a red over the right corner.
And Jimmy tapping the table this time. He knows what a good shot Stephen played there, because he's brought the black into play and he's opened the reds up. So now it's Jimmy's turn. He's going to have to be careful. And my colleague Clive Everton mentioned that 106 break that Jimmy White started the match off with last night. It was the second frame for me that was the big frame. Stephen Hendry made a 67 break and Jimmy returned with 31 and 39 to pinch that frame. And since that second frame, Jimmy White, well, he was just a revelation.
Good length, but could have done without clipping the red over left corner. And that element of length in the safety just provided enough degree of difficulty for White to miss the pot.
1. Seven. Eight.
Purposely playing for the pink. He didn't want to pot the black, as it would have disappeared up onto the green spot. Very clear thinking, but he's overran it. He wanted to play for the red that was
14.
on the black spot. And then he could have played for the black. Got it back onto his own spot, but just a slight change of plan.
$15.
Hendry cannons the red away from the black spot.
22. $23. $13. $31.
So Hendry now in position to start the long road back. Great chance to take the first frame of the evening.
Yes, it normally would be straightforward
38.
to take the frame, but not under these circumstances.
39.
And there, he's just a little bit short on the blue. So already he's got quite a bit of work to do with the next shot. He's got the pink, he's got to come back down the table again. And he can only come down the left side of the table to leave the yellow to pass the green into the corner pocket. Well, he had an angle, and that's an excellent shot.
45.
But as you can see, the green's off its spot, so he's got to be very precise. If he just leaves the white near enough where the yellow is, he'll be okay.
47. $50.
Very cool, very determined.
50.
In first with 59.
72 in the
Hendry,
frame.
who takes the opening frame of the evening on the black with a 72 clearance. He's still got a long road to travel. White still leads by 8 frames to 2.
Yeah, a long row, but Stephen Hendry moves on and Jimmy White stays still. Darren Morgan, you get whoever does win this. What do you feel about that one?
Well, it's, it's an intriguing match, and that was a massive frame, really. I mean, Jimmy's probably sitting in his seat 1 minute thinking I'm 9-1 up, and all of a sudden Stephen's pulled that one out of the bag, and it's 8-2, and he's on his way.
Jimmy just missed one red, and suddenly it was a chance that Hendry looked for, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't an easy red, the long red he had, but the way he looked like he was queuing, he probably expected to have got it, and he probably just tightened up on it a little bit and give Hendry his chance.
We talk a lot about this pressure, but I mean, I would have thought there's more pressure on Jimmy now than there is on Stephen.
I talked about it last night. It is quite funny when you're 8-1 up. I mean, I don't know what Jimmy feels like. He's a different person to me, but when you're 8-1 up, he must have been thinking, oh God, there's no way I'm going to lose from here now, and if I do, how am I going to cope with that? So it does play funny tricks.
Well, he's just seen the first one go away, and that's his reply. Well, not a bad one. So, the first frame of the night after the amazing night last night. Here's Hendry.
Fast stroke. 4.
Unlucky to go in off that.
Jimmy White.
It gives White an easy starter from the baulk line.
One. Ball. 5.
Not going to be straightforward for Jimmy here because the black's hampered, as you can see there. The pink is available, but it looks as if the red's fairly straight, so he can screw back here.
Six.
And that's a little bit awkward. Just a safety shot.
Blue
No
ball.
value in taking the blow on.
Jimmy White. 6.
Well, Stephen Hendry taking the opportunity to open the black up here. Well, oh, what a nudge that is. The black is steadfast next to the red.
He's got White over the congested side of the table. He wanted to have him playing from as near that baulk pocket as possible. Oh. Well, it didn't look as if that would go at first glance. One terrific pot. And got the cue ball through the reds and back to baulk.
3.
Well, this could work out very nicely for Jimmy here, because I think the pink spot might be tied up, so it'll go on to the blue spot, so that will help Jimmy's cause.
Ten. $11.
Didn't want to be on the blue, although the blue spot and all the other spots are covered. It won't tie the blue up, this.
Yes, as near as possible to the blue spot, in a direct line between it and the pink spot, without actually touching
16.
the nearest ball.
$16. Jimmy White.
Yes, didn't get quite right on that red.
One. $6.
With a thinner contact, the cue ball would have bounced off the cushion and left Hendry position on the back red.
Stephen Hendry, 6.
Yes, that red near the right middle pocket is making things a little bit awkward. I'm just wondering if he can see enough of this to cut it into the corner pocket. I think he can pass the blue and snick this in. Well, he could, because he overcut it. But now he's left a chance for Stephen. So there is a little bit of tension in Jimmy White's action here, quite understandably.
One.
Yes, White's got such a lead that in his mind he's virtually sure to win. In that sense, has everything to lose and nothing much to gain.
Six.
Hendry will be hoping simply to win
Touching ball, Stephen.
2 or 3 more frames and start to put some real doubts in his mind.
Seven.
Might just go into the 4 reds gently, not with too much pace here. And just look at them now.
12. $13. $18. $19. $26. $27.
The remaining reds well set. A golden chance for Hendry to recover another frame.
$34. $35.
Although Stephen Hendry lost last evening 8 frames
42.
to 1, he didn't play badly. So he knows his forms there.
43.
It was just Jimmy White was so brilliant.
Tried to force further round.
50.
So an unexpected degree of difficulty for his next red.
$51.
Cool pot. And now an easy clinch.
56. 57. 62. 64.
It's gone very, very quiet in the Crucible Theatre. The atmosphere is electric this evening.
67. 71.
So having won the first frame of the evening on the black with a 72 clearance, Stephen
76.
Hendry has added the second.
And the frame.
A break of 76 reduces Jimmy White's lead to 8-3.
Just thinking, Darren, doesn't 8-3 sound a lot different than 8-1?
Well, yeah, you know, he's come in at 8-1 thinking if he can get the first one off the board, he's virtually got the match won all of a sudden. Now it's a lot different to match.
But both frames there, Jimmy White's had the start and must have been thinking, here we go again, and both times Hendry's taking it off him.
Yeah, well, the first frame, you know, he'd almost won really. There was only one, can't even caught a bad shot, he just missed the long red. But the last frame there, he's knocked in a great long red, potted the yellow, and he hasn't really scored enough from the chance that he had. And Stephen played a real good shot on about 50, potted a good red in the left-hand black pocket and just nudged the other red on the middle, and that's a sign that he's really feeling confident. So
Stephen Hendry,
it's going to be hard now, I think.
Thank you,
so what's the difference in Hendry's play tonight?
Well, he knows now if he don't win the first four, he's got no chance. You know, I spoke to him just before he went out, and he said, other than the first four, that it's just not going to be good enough. Got no chance. So he knows he's got to win the first four.
And Jimmy knows what he's got to do. 8-3 now. 2 played. This man's won them both.
Very near, but last night those were going in.
1.
Well, that's a poor shot from Stephen. He really got into that, so the adrenaline is pumping. He overscrewed that by quite a margin. And Jimmy White will be quite relieved to see that, because his first attempted red, he was on his way around the table. He thought he'd potted it.
The red, one in from the right, potable, but 2 reds in the way of getting the cue ball round behind the back of the black. Concentrated on safety and achieved it despite a thin contact on the black.
1.
What a pot that was. He had no safety shot on. He would have played a safety shot had there have been one there, but he had to pot his way out of trouble, and he hit that so sweet.
Couldn't quite hold position.
8.
But the long pot that Hendry knocked in, that's another difference from last night. Hendry attempted a couple of long reds similar to that, and both of them shivered in the pocket.
Stephen Hendry, 8.
He might be able to pot the red that's the two together, the one that's just closest to this top cushion. Yeah, the back one of those three, he might be able to take that on and get around the back of the black. I think Jimmy was expecting maybe to get back down the table, but he'll settle for this.
Good pot anyway.
Eight. Nine. $16.
Screwed back further than intended. The idea was to take the back red of the 4 to the left corner next.
17. $24. $25.
Yes, he's on that red this time.
32.
So he has a margin of error if he should run slightly out of position. The reds are nicely open.
33.
He'll want to keep as close control as possible.
And he'll be disappointed if he doesn't win the frame at this visit.
$40. $41. 48. $49.
Well, he's just a little bit short there. He wanted to be the other side of the blue. So he's going to have to... I think he's going to have to put quite a bit of power into this next shot. Because just looking at the position of the reds, he can't really drop the blue in or screw back and leave a nice easy one, so...
$54.
Well, I'm sure you'll be pleased to know we're staying with this live match for the moment.
That was the best you could do with it, also. Reasonably longish red.
$54, Jimmy White.
The loss of position on the blue left himself a missable red from middle distance, whereas perfect position on the blue, and he'd have been right on that red.
1. $6.
White has made the early running in all three frames. Didn't win either of the first two.
7.
If he loses this one, then a few anxiety twinges might start.
$12.
Just failed to make the cannon on the two reds as intended.
Stephen Hendry, 12.
Well, Jimmy's had a look at the two reds that Stephen come down the table off. And there may be a possible plant. That's what he was looking at. There's quite a distance between the two reds, but it would be very risky because he'd cannon into the other red. And as our camera comes out there, as you can see, it's not straight on. But I think he's taking this other one on. That was a risky one. And look at the chance he's left.
Settle down, please. One.
Well, there was three loose reds. Before he potted that, Stephen took a chance to bring the other one into play. And, well, he's got them all on again.
7. $8. $15. $16. 19.
Well, that's not a bad cannon on the blue this time. He can reach across for this red.
Ready?
He's going to need up to and
23.
including the pink.
$25.
Very gritty, high quality stuff from Hendry.
$28.
Yes, Clive, I don't think there's anyone else in the game could have produced this, and I think Jimmy knows that.
$32.
But this is not easy. This will test his cue action. If it goes in, he's automatically on the pink. What a shot this is.
Didn't have the angle on the brown to get really close to the blue, but it made no difference.
43 in the frame.
Hendry clears to the pink with 43, and he's pulled another frame back. He resumed 8-1 down. He's reduced it to 8-4.
And with at least 2 more frames before a possible result, and they've got an interval coming up after this frame. We've overrun our time, we had to leave it. On the other table, just to update you, the start of their second rounder, it's 1-1 in the match between Mark Williams and Steve Davis. Remember, that's a second rounder, the best of 25. So 3 frames played here tonight. Stephen Hendry has won all 3. He's on 4. Jimmy White is still where he started on 8. Everything in the highlights program tonight at 11:15.
Six years ago, Jimmy White looked on in despair as Stephen Hendry came from 14-8 down to win 10 frames in a row and win the World Championship. Last night, it was Hendry's turn to sit and suffer. The whirlwind blew into an 8-1 first session lead. Surely this time it would be White's turn for sweet revenge. Or would it? Hello again. From the moment the first round draw paired Jimmy White and Stephen Hendry for the 32nd time in major competition over the last 12 years, this was the match we were all looking forward to. But not even Jimmy White or his legions of admirers could have imagined the outcome of last night's opening session of 9 frames. An amazing 8-1 lead to Jimmy White, just 2 frames away from a place in the second round. Stephen Hendry, understandably convinced that he could still pull off an amazing victory. After all, he's done it before. That, of course, was one of the last 2 first-round ties. It's the big match tonight in this Embassy Championship of the World. The only other remaining first-round tie yet to be completed, Canada against Wales, Alain Robidoux against Matthew Stevens. That a little bit later on. But first, it's Hendry against White in front of an absolutely packed Crucible audience. Stephen Hendry, the world number 1, as he has been throughout the 90s. 21 centuries this season, £5.5 million in prize money, 6 times the world champion, a record which he's convinced is not yet complete.
The 7th world title is going to be the goal for me. You know, it was disappointing to be so close last year and not to get it, but I will get it. It's just a question of when.
Jimmy White down to number 21 in the world. He's been the runner-up, as we all know, 6 times here at the Crucible, and he's lost his last 15 matches against Stephen Hendry. But the whirlwind more confident than he's been in a long time.
Hello, I'm Jimmy White, and the whirlwind is back.
He certainly is. 8-1, the outcome of last night's opening session. White needing just 2 more frames for a place against Darren Morgan in round 2. So let's pick it up from the beginning of tonight's session. Hendry convinced he needed to take the opening 4 frames. Here's frame 10. White started well. He's at the table 59-0 in front. Dennis Taylor and Clive Everton will describe it.
And that element of length in the safety just provided enough degree of difficulty for White to miss the pot.
1. Seven. Eight.
Purposely playing for the pink. He didn't want to pot the black, as it would have disappeared up onto the green spot. Very clear thinking, but he's overran it. He wanted to play for the red that was
14.
on the black spot. And then he could have played for the black. Got it back onto his own spot, but just a slight change of plan.
$15.
Hendry cannons the red away from the black spot.
22. $23. $30. $31.
So Hendry now in position to start the long road back. Great chance to take the first frame of the evening.
Yes, it normally would be straightforward to take the frame, but not under these circumstances.
39.
And there, he's just a little bit short on the blue. So already he's got quite a bit of work to do with the next shot. He's got the pink, he's got to come back down the table again. And he can only come down the left side of the table to leave the yellow to pass the green into the corner pocket. Well, he had an angle, and that's an excellent shot.
45.
But as you can see, the green's off its spot, so he's got to be very precise. If he just leaves the white near enough where the yellow is, he'll be okay.
47.
Very cool, very determined. White in first with 59.
72 in the
Hendry, who takes the opening frame of the evening on the black with a 72 clearance. He's still got a long road to travel. White still leads by 8 frames to 2.
What an important opening frame it was. Hendry convinced he needed to take the first 4. He took the first 3 because he won 11 and 12 as well to reduce the deficit to 8 frames to 4 in Jimmy White's favour. So here's frame 13. Once again, it's White at the table, 17-8 ahead.
Well, that was a very thin contact that was required. He seemed to get down and play it rather quickly.
One.
It's the worst thing in the world to have a big lead, to think in your own mind that you're going to win, and then suddenly to be slowly
7
but inexorably caught up.
8.
The anxiety starts to clutch you more and more tightly. Not a crisis yet, but it's approaching one.
$14. 15.
That's very unlucky. He took the opportunity to go into the reds, and he had
21.
a lot of pace on the cue ball, and he's finished on nothing.
Stephen Hendry, 21.
Yes, I assume the nearest red is not potable.
I think it might be, because Stephen intended to be back behind the black there, but it's a very risky one, and Jimmy took a risky one on previously and left it over the pocket, but this could go in.
A misjudged safety from Hendry. Could be serious now. Not where he wanted to be.
7.
Wanted to be straighter on his next red so that he could play easily for pink or black.
Well, a little smile from Jimmy there. He knows that was a terrific pot he pulled off, but he was expecting to be nicely on the blue, and it's his turn to be rather unfortunate to finish tight in the cushion. I think he can still snick it in, but this is a very thin one, and the white's going to be flying around the table a little bit.
$14.
He's got to come up for the red that's near the black. I think he's got enough angle to stun up past the pink and leave that one on. But he's too hard.
19.
It's still on, but he's just running slightly out of position.
The tension may be impairing his touch, but not his potting. Keeps pulling out these rescue shots.
Badly wants this frame for the mid-session interval. It's Jimmy who's in the driving seat here in this frame, but he's still got quite a lot to do. There's two open reds, but if he can get that far, I'm sure he'll be able to do something about the one near the cushion.
$27.
In fact, he may leave an angle after potting the green on that red is to pot the red and then bring the other red into play. I'm sure that's what Jimmy's coming around to have a look at. That's one option available to him. So it just depends on where he puts the cue ball here. He might be a little bit too straight on the red to do it this time, so if he can't move it from this shot, he'll have to do it off the colour.
30.
So he'll be screwing back for the green.
31.
Doesn't want to be straight. I think he needed a few more inches towards the brown there. That's not a good enough angle, I don't think, to move the red, so he's going to try it off the brown.
Failed to develop the red.
35.
But has a shot at it to the corner. 23 in front.
He's having another look at the scoreboard, and he can just screw back a little bit and leave the blue. Big shot for Jimmy White, this.
Oh, you really can do without that. That was absolutely ridiculous. Jimmy White was almost hitting the cue ball when that over-enthusiastic spectator yelled out.
He had a bad contact on the blue there. Unfortunately, it didn't throw it off line. What a time to get a kick. It meant that the yellow's a bit more difficult, but can you imagine if the blue hadn't have gone in there?
Yes, Hendry needs a snooker now. And he's not going to be, well, I was going to say, having the chance to play for any snookers in this frame, but the door is just fractionally ajar. White leads by 31, but I've seen frames 1 from 2 snookers needed. White should have made absolutely sure there. Now, 3. Jimmy White resumed 8-1 up. Stephen Hendry reduced that to 8-4. So Jimmy White takes the last frame before the mid-section interval to lead by 9 frames to 4. 5 up, 6 to play.
Yes, what an absolutely crucial frame that was. It stops the run of 3 consecutive Hendry frames and takes Jimmy White to within 1 frame of victory. So out they came after the mid-session interval. Here is frame 14. Jimmy White got in early with a 31 break, and he's still 31-14 in front.
He expected to get that. Not past the post yet.
One.
Well, just looking at the angle he has on the black, I think he's got to go into the reds just to hold the white and open them up. It's not too bad. 1 into the right
8.
centre.
Nine. $16. 17.
Miscalculated that. He thought he would be on pink to right middle.
Stephen Hendry, 17.
Disappointed. That was a chance to pull another frame back before he lost position. White went boldly for that red, calculating that if he got it, he could go on to take frame and match.
One.
I don't think he would have played it quite like that if the match had been 9-all.
Eight.
cover the red. It wasn't the best
Stephen
positional
Hendry.
shot. The previous one, he didn't leave himself on that red as he intended, but although he snookered, Jimmy may be able to pot this red. He's looking at coming off the side cushion. If he pots the red, he'll automatically finish on the black.
One.
Well, he's on the black, but not nicely.
Yes, he didn't pot it cleanly, only with the double kiss. He intended to strike side cushion, top cushion, clip it in, and bounce out.
Generous round of applause for the positional side of the shot, but well, Stephen Hendry knows that it's awkward, and Jimmy White knows that it's awkward. That blue's hampering him for the easier red this side of the table, so he's looking at the other one, and it's much more difficult. But he's going to need the spider to take that one on, so just a little bit unfortunate. This is far from easy.
Eight, Jimmy White.
And the kiss on the pink leaves Hendry within potting range of this red.
Thank you, Stephen.
Expected to get it, but nothing left.
It is cuttable, this red, but he'll be bringing the cue ball back down the table, but if he hits it thin enough, he could knock this in. And much too thick a contact. He's going for his 7th and record world title here. There's a couple of happy spectators, and this man not going for any record, but he's going for the title that's eluded him for so many years. If Stephen Hendry hadn't have been around, Jimmy White would have been world champion, I feel, on 3 or 4 occasions. Stephen's prevented that, but may not be able to prevent a defeat here.
7.
It's 10 years since White beat Hendry at the Crucible. Second round match. Since then,
9.
Hendry has beaten him in 4 finals and a semi.
11.
But this surely is White's night.
What
14.
a performance this has been from Jimmy White. It's hard to describe how he's feeling inside at the moment. He's still concentrating. He's having the cue ball cleaned. The brown will mean that Stephen Hendry can only tie.
18.
And he's got to pot a long blue for a famous victory.
it's going to be Jimmy White's first victory over Stephen Hendry for 4 years.
$23, Jimmy White.
Two snookers needed. Very long odds against Hendry, carrying the match into a further frame. On 4 occasions, Hendry v. White has been the final. But this year, it looks simply as if it's going to be the final match for Stephen Hendry in this year's championship.
Well, a chance to have a go at that first snooker. He's got an angle to try and get up behind the black here. It's a little bit too strong.
The White supporters can hardly wait for the handshake.
And it may be coming very shortly. Jimmy will play to roll this pink into the corner pocket, in or over. Not this time. Now will Jimmy try and clinch the match with a double on the pink? No. Over the corner pocket. Well, I think Stephen Hendry will shake hands.
Jimmy White's had 2 very disappointing seasons, but last night and tonight, the old White magic had us in its spell. Jimmy White beats Stephen Hendry by 10 frames to 4.
It was massive result for me to win. When I drawn Stephen Hendry, it's the worst draw you can get. You know, he's the best player in the world, the most consistent player. And I was focused on the game because my back was against the wall. I'm out of the top 16. And I really need to get to the semi-final to get in that situation. So I think that was my. I think that was what I needed. I needed a kick-start, and to beat Stephen, there's no reason why I can't win it now.
A hugely significant win for Jimmy, the first time Stephen has lost in the opening round here at the Crucible since his debut in 1986, when Willie Thorne beat him 10-8. So White goes through, and the other remaining first-round tie today saw Alain Robidoux, last year's semi-finalist, up against the promising young Welshman Matthew Stevens. It was another match which produced the week's most popular scoreline. At the end of their first session, Matthew Stevens held a narrow lead over Alain Robidoux. Frame 10, and Stevens immediately extended his lead to 6-4. Frame 11 proved to be the longest of the match. After over 41 very scrappy minutes, the Stevens foul on the White finally handed the frame to the Canadian. The next 4 frames were shared. Frame 16 saw Stevens open up a 9-7 lead. The tension was mounting for Stevens. Just 1 frame needed, but Robidoux held his nerve. 9-8. In frame 18, Stevens took charge, and breaks of 31 and 40 were enough for the young Welshman to take the match 10-8 and move into the last 16 on his first appearance at the Crucible. And that completed the first round draw, but almost unnoticed amidst all the attention on Hendry and White. The second round got underway here as well. Steve Davis up against Mark Williams, and Mark Williams leads that one 5-3 after the opening session. He had most of the significant breaks in that one, but only 2 in it. Perhaps of more significance, Higgins against Hamilton in the bottom half of the last 16 saw Anthony Hamilton taking a 6-2 lead. John Higgins was 2-1 up, in fact, but lost 5 frames in a row. Hamilton again making most of the big breaks. So that's it for tonight. I'm back 1:10 tomorrow afternoon. Higgins against Hamilton, Ken Doherty against Stephen Lee. But this was the day when Jimmy White finally got the better of Stephen Hendry at the Crucible. Good night.